Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Gavel. I am Benny Ark. The National Assembly has pledged to make necessary amendments to the NEITI Act. Chairman, Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Upstream, Downstream and Midstream of the National Assembly made the pledge in Abuja while meeting the global leadership of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. Please watch.
The National Assembly has pledged to make necessary amendments to the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative Act. The Chairman, Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Upstream, Downstream and Midstream of the National Assembly made the pledge in Abuja while meeting with the global leadership of Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative.
On petroleum upstream.
Speaking on behalf of the Federal Legislature, Chairman, Senate and House Committees on Downstream says the 10th National Assembly will use its power to solve the challenges confronting the industry.
I attended your presentation, I think 2 months ago or so, or 3 months ago, and your presentation and your insight into the oil industries. Your presentation was apt. We are working on so many things concerning that, and I will always encourage you. The committees are pleased with you. As a House and a National Assembly, we will say your documents are of very great importance to us. I'm bringing the team to Nigeria. I would say congratulations.
As a joint committee, our agenda is targeted at introducing key amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act so as to ensure stronger provisions for clean energy transition. We also focus on reviewing the NEITI Act to grant NEITI statutory powers to implement the findings of their investigation and possibly execute the recommendations of their report. We are also considering granting NEITI powers to prosecute those found to be in breach of extant laws, strengthening the governance structure of NEITI, placing more emphasis on crucial disclosure requirements of the EITI, especially as it relates to contract transparency and beneficial ownership, independent funding for NEITI, timely review and action on reports by the National Assembly, among others. We are also working with sister petroleum and oil and gas related committees with a view to ascertaining those who operate extractive industries in Nigeria so as to deepen transparency and public oversight of the industries through the parliament. We also seek to pursue the recovery of public funds that were either mismanaged, wasted, or yet to be remitted from the extractive industries. It is also our desire to ensure that there is accountability on the part of state-owned extractive industries so as to ensure that greater value and revenue is derived from the sector for the good of the nation and to foster a sustainable energy transition. As part of ways to ensure the success of our legislative agenda, we have secured the partnership and support and commitment of over 70 federal lawmakers as would-be co-sponsors for the critical bills which seek to review some provisions of the NEITI Act and which we believe will help to fully realize the objective of NEITI, expand and achieve the desired transparency in the extractive industry. It is our belief that without transparency in the terms that form the basis of transactions, commodity trading is vulnerable to corruption, which will in turn jeopardize public revenue. Therefore, transparency in the extractive industry sector ensures that all parties understand the terms upon which trading takes place and how this will affect the funds available for public expenditure and development. You are coming at a very important time when the NEITI leadership has built a stronger relationship with lawmakers both in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. NEITI has done very well, and it is now focusing on a new reformed future built on stronger transparency initiative that will see Nigeria recover more revenue and value from the extractive industry and also have enough resources for seamless transition into the new energy future. We applaud the Global Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative for providing leadership and guidance for some of the critical reforms, which we have taken cognizance of, and we ensure that our legal framework is in tandem with the guiding principle of NEITI and the global best practices. Lastly, we congratulate NEITI for its effort, which led to Nigeria topping the world ranking as one of the best implementing countries. This is highly commendable, and we will continue to work together to sustain this progress. We are ready and willing to cooperate with NEITI as we desire to see NEITI operating at its maximum capacity with its available resources to achieve its policy and regulatory objective and be accountable to the Nigerian people.
Earlier, Deputy Executive Director of NEITI, Badi Balde, who led the team, says the purpose of NEITI is to ensure Nigerians benefit from her natural resources. Balde, while commending Nigeria for the implementation of the NEITI Act, called for the need to review the NEITI Act. On his part, the Executive Secretary, NEITI, acknowledged that NEITI has recorded giant strides in achieving a lot in the extractive sector of the country.
The NEITI mission is to help ensure that citizens benefit from their natural resources. So, as an extension, the purpose of NEITI here in Nigeria, and as mandated by law by this National Assembly, it is to ensure that Nigerian citizens benefit from their natural resources, oil, gas, and mining specifically. And all our joint effort is to achieve this objective mandated by this law. So for this mission, we were tasked by an international board, which is led by its chair, the Right Honorable Helen Clark, who mandated us to travel to Nigeria to convey the outcome of the last validation, which is a quality assurance that is applied to all member countries to verify the extent to which they are adhering to their commitment of NEITI principles and requirements in terms of transparency and also stakeholder participation in dialogue to help foster and improve the governance of the sector. We, as part of this validation, we have already conveyed some of the key messages to one branch of government, the executive branch. So we would like to express our gratitude to you, honorable members, for especially taking the time to meet us, especially given we understand that this is a moment of recess. So we sincerely appreciate this time because our mission would not have been complete without a meeting of the legislative branch. So this is a very important meeting for us. I will try to highlight just a few points from the validation findings that could be relevant for this August body. The first is that the International Board did indeed commend Nigeria for its effort in implementing the NEITI standard. Especially it acknowledged achievements made in recent past about more regular disclosures, not just of audit report, but as well as policy briefs, occasional reports that produce more timely information to inform elected officials such as yours to help you in your work of oversight of this sector. So that work was recognized and acknowledged as part of this validation. The board also acknowledged recent effort made as related to the implementation of a new provision in the NEITI standard that relates to what is known as transparency of beneficial ownership. This is an area where Nigeria has made significant progress, and there is still more work to be done, but that progress is acknowledged in this validation. There are a number of areas that were found in this assessment of improvement. So some of these areas of improvement that could be relevant for this body would include the following. The first is how the NEITI itself in Nigeria should function. and that is the multi-stakeholder group that was mandated by a legislative act, the NEITI Act of 2007. That act did mandate that a multi-stakeholder group that includes civil society, companies, and government officials are on a board, oversee this work, and monitor that regularly, and to help achieve the objectives given to it by this assembly. Unfortunately, and we have already pointed this out to the executive branch as represented by the secretary to the government of the federation, who has already acknowledged that receipt, which is that this body has not been functioning in recent years. It has been vacant for quite some time before its term has lapsed. And this has now occurred in 2 occasions when the term is, as mandated by law, by this body, says that this body is elected for 4 years. But we have noticed in 2 occasions where it has been interrupted. Its mandate has been interrupted before that term is fulfilled.
Like the head of the delegation explained, reports are just documents except if they are implemented. And the findings and recommendations in our reports need your everyday attention. And we are glad with the report we are receiving. On the areas, weaknesses that were identified in the report, we have already developed a national response, comprehensive action plan, which we have shared with all the agencies concerned. And we're going to share them also with the relevant committees to look at, to help your tracking, monitoring, and legislative oversight. We have tied them to timelines, and this will be shared with you. On behalf of the delegation and the international chair, Right Honorable Helen Clark, the reconstitution of NEITI NSWG, which is the board, was of primary importance to the international body, and then how frequent disruption of our structure could be averted, because each time it happens, it affects our international rating as a country. The international partners want continuity and consistency in policy making and implementation.
The NEITI boss, while expressing commendation for National Assembly support, says the visit by NEITI has been very expository for them.
Welcome back. In this segment, we revisit the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas's interactive session with the members of the House of Representatives press corps on the increase in the number of standing committees. He also received a delegation of the Korean Embassy to Nigeria, where he called for more trade and technological relationship between the 2 countries. Take a look.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, says the increase in the number of House standing committees from 109 to about 137 was to increase the level of efficiency of the oversight functions of the House. Speaker Abbas stated this during an interactive session with members of the House of Representatives press corps, where he informed the journalists that the House also decided to set up a committee that will monitor the activities of the committees. He assures of transparency and results.
The State Assembly has brought on board revolutionary that will not only help our efficiency in the House, but will also give a value addition to the country. One of them is the creation of a standing committee to monitor the activities of all standing committees of the House. You will agree with me, in the past, not all committees were active. You find some were active, some were not. Maybe because of one thing or the other. This time around, we want to ensure that every standing committee lives to its responsibility. It is not out of place from time to time for committees to resort to executive session so that issues that are highly confidential and sensitive should not be divulged before the completion of the investigation.
Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives has called for more trade and technological relationships between Nigeria and the Republic of South Korea, particularly in the areas of energy and mining. Right Honorable Abbas made the call when a delegation from South Korean Embassy to Nigeria and the 21st National Assembly of the Republic of South Korea visited him at his office in Abuja.
I also want to call on your parliament, being a much older democracy established since 1948, to collaborate or to continue to collaborate with our legislators in areas of legislation so that we can broaden our knowledge of legislation that will further improve the economic ties of our two countries. I also want to further call for the increase in the promotion of business opportunities, including organizing trade fairs and exhibitions, and encourage Korean companies to further invest in Nigeria's mining sector, renewable energy, steel, and petroleum industry. I would also want to assure you that the focus of the present Nigerian government, and indeed the 10th House of Representatives, is to strengthen these economic ties between Nigeria and South Korea to achieve the fourth industrial revolution in technology, development, and transfer.
On Constituency Focus, we speak with Senator Afam Ogene, representing Ogbaro Federal Constituency. We ask what his plans are for his people and how he intends to meet these needs.
As somebody representing Ogbaro Federal Constituency, which is actually a riverine community, Ogbaro is made up of 15 indigenous communities, and we lie on the banks of the great river Niger. My people are predominantly farmers of yam, cassava, vegetables, and other food crops. But the major challenge that they have is poor access roads. In fact, the only major road that connects all of these 15 communities and linking up to the border with Rivers State is the Onitsha or Somala, Onitsha Atani or Somala Oguibele Road. And that road was done halfway during the time of former Governor Peter Obi. Ever since, it's been a little push and shove here and there. But incidentally, oil exploration has been going on in two communities of Oguibele and Oguaniocha, which makes Anambra an oil-producing state. So the state right now is earning revenue from the 13% derivation. But the roads are simply not there for the people to move out. In fact, the oil company had to create pipelines and collect to the side of the delta. So they actually take this oil across the river to the delta area. So I'm calling on government to also, at the subnational level, the state level, and the federal level, to synergize and ensure that this road is done. This is one major need of my constituent. The next would be the fact that as a coastal federal constituency, this seasonal flooding, affects my community so much so that bungalows, you only see the rooftops. It's as bad as that. And so I'll also be pushing for holding centers. Each year they ask people to go upland. Upland to where? There is no provision made for people to move out of the villages and come upland. But I'm sure that if we have 3 or 4 holding centers that could take especially men, women, and children during such period, because it has almost come to stay that each year we lose about 3-4 months to flooding. So you can imagine floods that cover rooftops. So nobody would actually be staying there, and it's a hard time getting to undertake that kind of movement. So if the government provides us with holding centers, large halls, take it up, and then people from the catchment areas could easily move there while the period lasts. So basically, those are 2 major issues that confront us. the oil exploration, which also devastates our environment. And so I'm calling on the government that whatever they are doing with regards to community participation in oil production, they should factor in the various communities of Obaru, because they are also all negatively impacted. My plans is to always be their voice, and that I've started, because if you don't say you are here, nobody would remember to say you are at that particular point. So, given my own background as a journalist, I've offered to be the voice of the people, which I've been doing even in my first incarnation as a legislator in 2011. I was publishing community newspapers. Already I've started a radio program for them, which has employed about 5 youths. So employment is key too for people in my area. The fishes are dried up because of the environmental degradation I told you about. So it's my remit to always look out for job opportunities for them, to assess the various grants and loans available to improve on their farming. And then we're also encouraging skills acquisition. In my first tenure, I did that, ran a semi-organized technical institution. I intend to go back to that in different trades, be it dressmaking, phone repairs, barbing, confectionaries, well, whatnot. We had about 11 trades that we engaged in, and this time around we would do similar thing. The road that I told you about coming into Obaru got so dilapidated that even vehicles, the crater could swallow vehicles. We had to do palliative work on the road, even though it's not our duty. But because we intend to make life easier for our people, I spent 5 million naira getting just hardcore blocks to fill those spots, which the people have seen us do. Then we have a scholarship scheme, which I don't almost like to talk about, because when you do some form of charity, even when I'm not in office, I do that. So it's something we'll continue with on a larger scale, different from the number I had as a private citizen.
And that's the program for this week. For your feedbacks, please send us an email at thegavel@channelstv.com. Thanks for watching. Until the gavel comes your way, same time next week, I am Benny Ark. Be well.